So good morning, everybody. Um, it's very interesting that we get the Kalasha film market gets to have the opportunity to discuss things on sound and to have conversations on sound, because sound is a very one of those things that people do not really talk about as much. And because people don't talk about it, we don't talk about it as much, people then get to think that it's not as important, and it's very important. Sound carries 50% of the experience, and visuals carry 50%. So it's very important that we have conversations about these topics. So my name is Andrew Hura, as you've heard. I come from Kampala, Uganda. I'm a certified audio engineer in audio production, audio post-production. I have over 20 years of experience in this industry, and I have been also, we actually have an MOU with Dolby. Dolby is one of the leading technologies in audio, and we have an MOU to do trainings, but also to use their technology to enhance experiences of audiences across the world. But also Quad A Group, the team that I manage, is also the first Dolby Atmos certified facility in East Africa. So it's a privilege to be here to speak to fellow East Africans about this technology, but not only the technology, the importance of sound in film and how we can enhance that to tell stories around the globe. So, let me just dive right into it. This is going to be, I'm not going to be doing lots of conversations. I want this to be very interactive. Sound should not be boring. You're not in here for a class. We're here to experience. I had previously asked the commission if it was possible to have a 5.1 setup, but the resources were probably not available. But I think it's high time that we start to have these kinds of conversations and to showcase what we can do as Africa to the rest of the world. So, just a brief run through. If you can put my slide up, great. So we're going to look at the stages of film production in 2026, because I want us to be very relevant. Yeah, we're going to look at the immersive audio and how it can elevate culture. We're going to look at AI. Everyone is talking about AI. Yes, AI is here also for sound. So we're going to talk about it. Machine learning, which is also part of AI, guilds and unions and why they matter, industry structures, AI policy, audio integration, future of cinema through sound, standardizing education, and cultural identity. I wanted to start with this slide. This is very important. Our market currently is about 15 billion. Currently. We have about 28 billion in terms of project market value. Nollywood is the second in the whole world in terms of volume of production. The films produced in Africa are 5,500 plus, and this is a UNESCO report, so they did a lot of finding and statistics. In Kenya, in East Africa, Kenya is the lead. It's a fast-growing market in East Africa. So this is a very important hub, and it's very important for us to have these conversations here. It generates about over 200 million annually. And this is one of the biggest points here. 60% of East African films lack professional audio. 60%. 60. So, if we want to tell our stories on the global stage, and we go and take our films to a market like this, and you bring you hired the best camera, you hired the best crew, you paid the actors really well, and your sound is horrible, remember that a film is 50% visual, 50% audio. You will, even if you do what, even if you scratch your head, even if you cry, that's a statistic, because we came from a silent era. For those of you who are scholars in film, you know we came from the silent era, and now we are in an era where audiovisual is ruling. And now we are finding ways on how to enhance the experience. But if we have 60%, that means we cannot communicate, we cannot put out our culture well. For example, think with me. You remember when South Korea took the Oscars? Yeah? What film was that? That won the Oscars? The South Korean film that won the Oscars? The other year. Parasite. Look at the excellence of Parasite. The framing, the composition, the color grade, the acting, and the sound. Look at the biggest show on Netflix. What was the biggest show in Netflix? One of the biggest shows on Netflix. A TV show. Squid Game. Also where? South Korea. Were they speaking English? No, it was dubbed. But the audio experience was beautiful. Even when you hear the music, you know that you're experiencing the South Korean culture. How many of you have watched Squid Game? By show of hands. Squid Game. For those of you who have watched Squid Game, you know that foundation of Squid Game is of their culture, how they play. It's like how we play. In Uganda, we have a game called Dul. I think it's only for us in Uganda. How many people are here from Uganda? I think we have 3. In Kenya, do you have a game called Dul, where you throw marbles and the marbles hit each other? You have that game. So, someone made a whole TV series that made lots of money globally off a game in their culture. But it was excellently executed. And the audio played a huge role in that. And so if we have 60% of our films still horrible, and we cannot export our films globally, how do we expect our culture to go and influence the world? How are we going to tell our stories? So we have to find ways on how to enhance the audio experience. So, I wanted also to dive deep in the stages of production. We have development. This is where you think of the idea, say this is going to happen. But I want to speak about the stages of production in the perspective of audio and what directors or producers need to be thinking about. So in development, you need to think about your sound. What is your sound? What do you want to achieve with your sound? Do you want sound to lead the way? Do you want people to experience? So let's. I've been to Ambroselli. I've also been to Samburu. These are Kenya. You guys, you're so beautiful. Your landscapes are so amazing. And the time I experienced Ambroselli and looking at the elephants, we were recording sound of the elephants eating grass with their trunks, fighting with the horns. That sonic soundscape. And it was for a documentary that we were going to do later. But we were in development, scouting the land, seeing how do these elephants live every day. So when you're making a film, it's very important to establish the vision of what you want sonically. In development, Then we go to pre-production. You then write down your blueprint. Okay, this is what we want to see in the development. Then you start to write like an architect. The architect begins to put down the notes and say, I want my house to go like this. We shall go like this and like this. So even when you're doing audio, it's very important that you discuss and say, okay, here we shall mic like this. We shall do all these different things. Then you enter production. This is where you capture the audio. And because you have planned well as the architect of your project, by the time you go for production, you know what to do. I've seen many audio engineers on set saying, I forgot batteries. Can someone run to the shop and get me batteries? Why didn't you plan for batteries? There's a lot of noise here. I wish I had a boom mic. Didn't you plan? Why didn't you plan early? You have pre-production to plan to know what mics are we going to use, and if we use these kinds of mics in this place, are they going to be able to help us? So, then we go to the very crucial part, which is post-production. Now, here in these parts, this number 4 here is not considered as important. You can spend a lot of money capturing sound in the field. Even the producers and directors know, where's my sound on the set? They record sound on the set. When it comes to post, it's like by the way, hey, we have post. We have to finish. How many of you know what post-production is? Post-production, just by show of hands. Show of hands. Okay. So we understand what post-production is. So in post-production, sound is not considered, and yet that's where sound is actually made. And most of what I'm going to be showing you today is in post-production. Because I know many of you know production sound. You know how to mic people. You know what mics. At least you have even witnessed it. But many people do not witness what happens in post-production. And that's where the challenges begin. Post-production. This is where we edit dialogue. We add sound design. We add Foley. We add music. And then we mix. These are very crucial stages. And then we deliver. And now, in terms of delivery, you have to make sure that you deliver according to the standard that is expected by the person who is buying the content. So, if you're delivering for cinema, have you mixed your film in a cinema format? If you're delivering for OTT, or what we call Netflix or Amazon, or even Showmax, have you mixed your film for Showmax? All these different platforms have standards. So you cannot expect to mix for cinema and deliver to OTT. You cannot think that you have mixed for Netflix and you do a cinema delivery. Those are two different mixes. So delivery is very important. And it all starts where? Development and concept. You need to make your plan. Where is this movie going? Some people wake up and say, hey, you people, there are festivals. We need to apply for festivals. You didn't know that you would apply for festivals when you made the movie? Really? If you know that you're going to make a movie, and that movie is going to go for theatrical releases in in cinemas across the world, you have to do a cinema mix. If you know that it's just going to be straight to platform, in other words, you're going to get it and it's going to go direct to Netflix, go direct to Showmax, you don't need to waste money doing a cinema mix. That means you can only do a home entertainment mix. So distribution is very, very crucial. So I wanted to take you guys through this development, and this is how we break down the budget. I wanted to see, for those of you, I'm going to spend a lot of time on post, because a lot of production sound, many people here, okay, let me not assume. By show of hands in this room, how many people are familiar with production sound? Put up your hand if you are familiar with production sound. There are few. Okay. How many are familiar with pre-production in audio? By show of hands. Okay. In the room, How many audio engineers do we have? By show of hands. Okay. How many actors do we have? Okay. How many producers do we have? Okay. How many directors do we have? Ah, very good. Okay. Then how many, okay, other departments in that, because I'm not going to say all of them. How many other departments do we have? So everyone else, I believe, comes from another department. So I'm not going to be so technical then, because we only have 2 engineers in the room. So I'm not going to delve a lot into the production, but I'm just going to mention the crucial things for us to know. So as directors and producers, this is very crucial for you to know. When you get typically a budget for post-production, the biggest chunk of it goes to music. Making music. And why music? Music carries the emotion of the film. If you do not spend money on music, remember, it's 50% audio, 50% visual. So if you do not spend a lot of money on the way the emotions are going to be carried, we use music to manipulate people. We are very bad. I'm going to play for you some things here, and you're going to, you will feel a certain way by force because of what I'm going to play. And that is the power of music. I can force you to feel a certain way, whether you want it or not. And that's why when we're doing audio, we use it. It's a weapon. Okay, not a weapon in that sense, but it's a tool that is used to manipulate people to feel a certain way. So, a lot of money is spent there. The next is sound design. Sound design is the effects. If you have a gunshot, the explosions, all those different things. So those are the different sound effects that we do. Then, 18% is dialogue. Dialogue is very important because that's where the story lives. And then the next is mix. And then 10% Foley and ADR. How many of you know what ADR is? Okay. So ADR is, for example, those of you who watch Squid Game, sometimes when you're recording sound on set, things go horribly wrong. So you have to correct them. So you call the actors to come back. Please come back to the studio. So when they come back to the studio, you then mic them to start to speak the lines they spoke on set while they see the screen. So they replace their dialogue in studio with what was on set. That's what we call automatic dialogue replacement. That is what we call ADR. So ADR many times is there, or sometimes it's not there. So this is the breakdown of the budget. Because of time, I'm going to keep rushing through. So challenges in audio post-production. We many times don't have money. We also we have a skill gap. People don't know the different things. How do I even start in audio post-production? Equipment, we have to import equipment. Always importing, always importing. M1s, by Africa, I speak to you from this hub. Let us start manufacturing our own equipment. Right? Let's make our own laptops. Why don't we make our own gear? I saw recently, there was a news thing showing a Kenyan who had made a robot that is connected to the mind. That's brilliant stuff. We need to invest in our own people. Anyway, equipment deficit, very high. We have no standards. It's a Wild West here. You just mix your thing and put it. Then people come to the cinema, poo, poo. It's just cutting people's heads. No one is controlling. Everyone can distribute how they want. We have no standards, you know. And yet other places, they said, to bring your film here, these are the standards it must follow. Fragmented workflows and logistical gap. And this was a budget allocation looking at what the standard is versus what we have here in East Africa. delivery, on-set sound, music, VFX, and audio post. Audio post-production, the standard is here, we are here. So these are things to show you the gaps and why this is very important to discuss today. Because of how we need to spread our culture and why we need our culture to go to the globe, it's very important that we start to immerse people using sound as a tool, but immerse people using audio. So we have technology that helps immerse the audience in. And I don't know, how many, do we have cinemas here in Kenya that have surround Dolby Atmos? Dolby Atmos. We have Dolby Atmos here in Kenya. And how many cinemas are there? Is it one? Are they two? Are they three? There are very many. Okay. So that means the technology is available. That means we need to start doing content in that technology for people to start to experience our projects immersively, because that draws the audience. Remember, audio is an experience. Audio is an experience. So the better you enhance your experience, the more you're going to control the audience and control what the audience feels. And that's why I want to push this narrative to you guys, directors, producers, even actors. Actors begin to tell on set, are you guys going to mix this stuff in Dolby? Are you going to mix it immersively? Begin to challenge the producers. I want my lines to be immersive. I want to speak immersively. You know? So begin to challenge the directors, begin to challenge the producers to begin to do this, because then you can grip the audience and you're able to tell your stories better. So these are the different platforms that we can use to tell our stories. The global standard for spatial audio or surround sound is really growing, but Africa is slowly on the rise. We're really slowly rising, and that's why I'm here, trying to speak about it so we rise even faster and catch up with the rest. Also, I wanted to speak about AI and how AI as a creative tool can help save time. But because we don't have many technical people in here, I wanted us to also have the conversation, even as directors and producers. I think it's not good for us to have the notion that AI is going to take away jobs, is going to take away from us, but we should start to think about it as tools. For example, for us in audio, we use a lot of these are different audio stages that we use. And for those who are technical, you can see the AI tools that we are using in audio and how it is saving us time. 80% time is saved, 70%, 85%, 60%. So we're using these tools to help save time so that we can catch up and produce massively. I will not dwell on this much because we are not having many technical people, but I wanted to have that slide for the technical people in here. Also this, I will not spend a lot of time on it because it's machine learning, and why we need to have machine learning as something to train AI in our culture, for AI to learn Swahili, for AI to learn Luganda, and to learn it not just as language, but to learn it with context of culture. So these are the different things that I wanted to speak about, but I will just rush through them because of time. Guilds and infrastructure. It's very important for us to come together. If we are separate and doing everything independently, look at this. The freelance, unorganized, this is East Africa, the structure. In East Africa, we are freelance. Everyone is a freelance. We are not organized. Everyone, it's me, I want my things myself. And because of this freelance mentality, we then don't get to benefit from these advantages because everyone is doing the things themselves. But if you come together, we can have fair pay. We can have standards because as a guild or as a union, you begin to say, in this country, if you're going to produce anything in this country, this should be the standard. And you'll be respected because you're many and you're together. We have legal protection if we come together. We have training access. In other words, we can call people from any country as a organized union. Back at home in Uganda, we have a guild called SEG, the Sound Authors and Engineers Guild. And what we do in there, we call experts, we train each other, we keep on helping each other know, okay, here, these are the trends. Hey, this one has released this one. We also need to catch up. Hey, this one is doing this. So you find that everyone in SEG is top-notch. Everyone in SEG is up to date, and it's very important that you come together. And then you have international affiliation. Because you are in an organized team and you're together, it is very easy for you to speak to an international body and be heard because you're together. You cannot be heard while you're freelance, and then you go and talk to freelance, and you're heard by an organization. It's very hard, unless you have too much experience. But freelance is harder. So this is very important. It's very important that we come together. And look at the guilds. The guilds are 8%. Have you seen that? We only have 8%. Guys, let's work to come to, and as directors and producers, and I'm very sure in Kenya that there are guilds, there's a sound guild here in Kenya, but also that also other different departments have guilds. It's very important to come together because that's the only way we can set these standards but also have all those advantages. I want to run through, yes. This is the wish. This is the wish. And actually, I want to maybe even bring it here. This is the future of cinema from a sound perspective. We are going to be, Africa's cinema must develop distinct sonic identities. And this is just to help storytellers, directors and producers here, if we can start to develop unique identities. I think I have that video. I think I have that video. I have a video of, so we were in studio, and back home we have what we call an instrument called an endingidi. Maybe I have that video. Let me see. Let me play it for you. So there's a film that we did together with a very good director, a friend of mine called Lukman, and he gave us the opportunity to explore and bring a sonic identity to one of the films that we had done. And what that helped us do is we were able to create a very interesting sonic identity. Oh, we don't have internet. Okay, so I will not pull that up now. I thought I would show you that. But for those of you who can maybe go on YouTube, you can go and check out a film called 16 Rounds. It's free on YouTube. What is very unique about that film is we used instruments that are culturally, like when you play them, you know they are from Uganda. They are not anywhere else. They are from Uganda. So it's very important as directors and producers that you begin to challenge your sound engineers to begin not to sample instruments from elsewhere, but to sample instruments here. And I know Kenya is gifted with a lot of instruments as well. We're very percussive people as Africans. And benga, where's benga from? The style called benga. Okay, what rhythm is known here in Kenya? Does any of you know? In Kenya here, do we know of, what is the style? Would you say, like for example, we know that Amapiano comes from South Africa, right? We know that Afrobeats, or what they have called Afrobeats, is coming synonymously, or High Life, let's say High Life, comes from Ghana and Nigeria. When we say Kenya, what is that? Bongo flavor? Upendwa? Zizopendwa? Zizopendwa is like, it's known, Zizopendwa. Yeah, so why don't we start doing Zizopendwa in our films and make Zizopendwa famous? You get what I mean? The Nigerians are using Afrobeats and High Life to make their films, and they're making it famously, and now the musicians are using that, and they're taking it across the globe. So I also see directors and producers who are here, please take note. The biggest percentage, I think it's 70% of African films are consumed on mobile. People are always on the mobile phone. So if you're going to work on your audio profile, it has to be well mixed and can sound good also on the phone. So that's very important. Borderless distribution, Africa's sonic identity, as I've been talking about, AI-enhanced narratives. These are very crucial things for the future of cinema from the sound perspective here in Africa. The other thing I want us to do is standardized education, because we need to be able to compete globally. If we do not standardize education, for example, look at the skill gap. How many people know business in the film industry compared to the global standard? It's less than, out of 100, we have like 25 or 30. ADR Foley, spatial audio. Spatial audio is the least. People don't know about immersive audio, and yet it's very important to draw the audience in. We have very little knowledge about it on the continent, especially here in East Africa. Sound design, these are the global standards. And recording we are good. That's why I even had skipped it. We know how to record on set. That one we are learning. That's a good one. But then we need to also learn all the other elements and catch up in terms of the global standard. So why we need to also position East Africa as a global audio hub? Because, 50 million plus, in terms of by 28, this is the kind of money that would be projected to be making. If we, by 2030, this is by 2030, if we can train audio engineers, have places where we could train audio engineers and have about 5,000 professionally trained audio engineers. And then you have AI penetration. This is a statistic I had on radio actually. I was here already. I just slotted that statistic in. 58%, I had this on radio. AI penetration in Kenya is about 58%. You guys are very good on AI, and like you're using it really well. And that is going to enhance the knowledge. And because once we have AI, the ability to use AI will be faster in terms of execution. And we have, of course, 54 countries in Africa in the film ecosystem. Nigeria, of course, leading, but its economic value, the audio post share is quite low. So we have a lot of post-production investment, but the share, the return on investment is low. South Africa has a lot of investment in terms of what they have invested in audio post-production, and their market share is the biggest. They have 72 in terms of market share. Kenya, this is where Kenya is in terms of investment in audio post-production. And then the market share is at 32. Ghana, Uganda, we need to improve Ugandans who are here. Tanzania, please work, let's work hard. Ethiopia, let's all work hard to improve these numbers, because we need to really invest a lot more, and so that we can be able to do post-production really well. So if we position East Africa as a hub and like push the investment in this hub, we'll be able to tell our stories better and export our work globally. And so I just wanted to take time to delve deep into post-production and what this whole post-production thing is. And these are part of the things we do at Quad A Group. If the team at the back, the sound team, if you could help me mute. Okay, I think we're back on. Great. So this is a film we did for a friend of ours. He's called Dami Twitch. He's in Nigeria. And he was doing a story about a young little girl who had abusive parents. The parents used to abuse, the husband used to beat the wife. As a matter of fact, I think let me play you that clip. So then we'll break down that clip together. This is how abusive this relationship was. Yeah, I think it's here. So this movie was mixed in Dolby Atmos because we want to draw the audience in. And so I'm using the technology to play back. But you will not experience it in surround sound because we don't have a setup for surround sound here. But you'll still get to feel the elements that we're going to be talking about.
What did I tell you about those boots?
I was cleaning.
Is that what I asked you?
Hey, Joe, mi ò fẹ́ wàhálà. I was cleaning the boot. I have to make the food. And then...
How dare you touch my boots? Do you have any idea what those boots mean to me? Eh? Bàtúrú owó ṣe ẹ lára boot mi. Àgbà Ọlọ́run lọ́gà. They say he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor. But with you, orí burúkú ni mo bá ń bẹ̀. Wò, wàá gbà. Gbà. Nínú eré, wọ́n mọ̀ pé.
Wọ́n tún ti ń jà.
Yeah, so that's the husband, and he was an abusive husband, and that was one of the scenes that the director showed of how abusive he was. And I wanted us to really break down that scene and to hear the different elements that made that scene. Now, you remember, I made a promise to you at the beginning of this thing that I'm going to force you to feel a certain way using sound. If I played back this thing, this same scene, and I had music. What did you call that thing called? That Zizopendo. If I had Zizopendo here playing, you would not feel the same way you have just felt watching that scene. Music plays a very huge role. Let's break down what happened in terms of music. I'll just make this screen a bit smaller. So we start with her crying. Just listen to how the music is telling a story, just the music. So you feel like the music is driving you and saying something. Now imagine we had like a tune, tune, as she was crying. The feeling, it's so disconnecting. So someone is there crying and you're having a piano. It's just disconnect. So it's very important, like when you're telling a story and you have a scene, that you use the tool we call music to manipulate people by force. It's by you even if you do what, you will have to feel that way. I can play this many times. Your feelings will still feel the same way. Why? Because it's the power of music. For those of you who are spiritual, music is the only thing. Sound was the only thing that was not created. It came directly from the other side. Let's take a minute and think about that. Light was created. Earth was created. Water was created. Sound came directly from the other side. Sound is what was used to make the world. Let there be light. And there was light. Sound is so powerful. You guys, if people knew how powerful sound was, this place would be very full. Because we use sound to manipulate. It penetrates. You can close your eyes. But these ears, if gunshots started happening in KICC, we had gunshots happening. Your eyes would not help you. Your sense of touch wouldn't help you. Sound is the only thing that would help you. Sound. There are bullets happening out there. Let's take cover. Sound. So sound is a very powerful tool that is used to tell narrative. And if we understand its power, we would pay more attention to it. So, music, this is just using music. That's the first tool I wanted to show. The second tool I wanted to show today is what we call Foley. Foley is what we call human interaction with objects. Foley is human interaction with objects. So my feet, my movement of the cloth, my touching a glass or a cup, drinking, that we call that Foley. And then, so this is our session. Can you imagine? This was a short film, but this is our session. Let me just look for Foley. Yeah, Foley is here. We have some Foley here. Let's listen to what was happening in Foley. let's just listen to Foley alone. Okay, I'm going to have you increase that volume just a bit because these are very low. Foley is really low sometimes. Let's see. So she's talking, but we have another layer of her actions, her sitting down, her putting things together, her feet, her moving. All those things are recorded again. For those of you who didn't know, it's not that we just come with the mic on set, capture it and come back. We have to record all this. Hear that movement. Okay, so that's Foley. So every time a human being is having an interaction, we do Foley. Then the third one I want to talk about is sound effects. Now, sound effects are very cool depending on what kind of film you're doing. So sound effects are things that we add to enhance the story. For example, let's look at this scene. Oh, this was Foley. So I've just seen this. Okay, let's listen to. So sound effects are things like we have ambience. For example, if all of us keep quiet in this room, let's just take a moment and keep quiet. So what we are hearing around us is the environment that we're in. There are people talking that side. So the sound recordist has to come on set and record that environment. And that environment is later then put in as backgrounds, which... let me see, let me find backgrounds for this environment. Hey, where are my backgrounds? There we go. Let me see an interesting scene. Yeah. So these are the backgrounds and the sound effects. Can you please increase? You can hear the engine of the car revving. That's sound. So we are adding layers and layers. So we started with music. The second thing was Foley. The third one was sound effects, which have backgrounds. Then, of course, let me stay at this scene. At this scene, of course, then we have dialogue, which is everyone knows. Dialogue, we all know what dialogue is. Let's see where our dialogue is. Our dialogue is here. So now we're going to just hear dialogue without any of the other things played. So let's just listen to dialogue.
That bit.
So, if we put all these things together, we put music, we put dialogue, we put Foley, we put sound design and music together. This is what we get.
That. For me, I had late.
And you can hear the music itself is also telling a story. It's like in someone's mind. And it's in the mind of the girl. The girl is asking herself questions. You can hear the feet.
That bit.
So we are using all these different elements put together, and then the final thing that is done is mixing. Because now remember, we have Foley, it's there by itself. We have sound design, it's also there by itself. We have dialogue, it's there by itself. We have music. So all these different elements have to be mixed. So what we then do is then balance. At this place, let's have music be louder. Let it take center stage. At this stage, reduce music. So it's a dance between make music loud here, reduce it here. It's too overwhelming. Here, increase a bit more Foley. People need to hear those feet. Reduce the Foley here. Here. So the recording engineer begins to make that dance. So that's very important for us to understand in audio post-production, that we need to separate these different elements. Dialogue, Foley, sound effects, music, and then we mix. These are very, very crucial things. I don't know if I have that video here. So here, I think let me play you this. Let me play for you this. So yesterday, yesterday I got a project. Yesterday while I was here, I got a project. And I'm going to tell you how, let me first show you the project I got. Okay, let's get it from the box. Okay, there we go. Let's see, let's go into the documents. Let's go here. So yesterday I got this project, And remember, I'm not at the studio back at home. But I have tools. Remember the other things I've told you about the tools that we have? We have tools. Now, in about an hour, I had finished composing music for this film. Now, it's a short film. It's about 1 minute long. We're just using music to tell its story. Just using music. This is just to prove the point that music is very important. So I just use music, and the music sort of takes people through a journey. It says we started here. Hey, they stole the bag. Hey, we're now in the car. Boom, woo, it's there. Now, they have stopped. Now they have blown the car. Pooh. So you're just telling a story using music, you know? Now, imagine we then add sound effects to this. The car revs, the gunshots. You just keep enhancing the experience, taking it to another level, and it's just magical. So, and if you also noticed, I was using African rhythms. I was not playing your generic, it is like our, now here you can play those things, those nankas of ours here. Because that one helps, you enjoy it because it is home, you know? And then it also, when you look at it, you sort of feel like this is happening here. It's not happening there. It's happening here. So it also helps bring the audience in here. So these are some of the things I wanted to share with you guys and just showcase some of the workflows that we have been doing and just to encourage you guys as directors, producers, actors to keep on doing this, and we shall elevate our work globally. That's the goal. Let me end here, and if you have any questions, I really appreciate if you would ask any questions, if you have any. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Any questions that you may have in terms of understanding this much better? Yes, sir. Can we have a mic here?
Hi, everyone. I'm Simon Agola. Thank you, Mr. Andrew, for that presentation. Amazing. I think for me, my question is really, first of all, in relation to what you've just showed us right now. I'm a sound designer myself, but I think one of the challenges that, one of the things that I've noticed is with yours is the short film was paced. Like there was rhythm to it, even in terms of the edit. So my question to you is, what kind of conversation do you have with your directors and editors, or what's the process like with you and the directors in order to achieve such kind of rhythms? Because like, especially like the film sometimes I work on, you find that they bring you probably like, let me say, a film, and there's no rhythm to it, and sometimes it's very hard for you probably to design something for it, or even, let me say, trailers themselves. Maybe also you could speak about trailers, sound design for trailers, and how do you go about such a process?
Okay, so this is a technical question, so I will not bore the rest of you are not as technical, but a simple answer. If you want to do music, because when you're making music and you're doing all these things, you're right. There is a rhythm to it. As an editor, how many editors do you have here? Editors, show of hand. Do you guys agree that there is a rhythm to how you edit? Like you say 1, 2, 3, cut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, cut. 1, 2, 3, cut. So that rhythm that you use while editing, an experienced composer is supposed to detect that rhythm. So sometimes, because let me be honest, editors who have just put up your hands, how many sound engineers have ever come to you and say, what rhythm? Tell me the rhythm that you used when you were editing. You wouldn't even know. You just feel it, right? So even as a composer, I'm supposed to feel that rhythm and give it a tempo. Sir, at the engineer desk behind, can you put that thing back for me? So if you look at this, you see that the feet landing. You see, look at how the editor edited. The car arrives, then it stops. Then his feet comes out and steps on the ground. So I'm supposed to start to feel that rhythm and then begin to compose with what I am seeing. And so sometimes you may not have the luxury of asking and talking together with the directors. This is something you have to develop over time. This comes over time. But it also, you start to snap your fingers and just... So, you see, as the shots keep on moving, you sort of start to feel like it's moving like this, it's moving like this, and then you begin to compose to that rhythm. So sometimes music is irregular, so you'll begin to also make irregular music so that you can just fit with the cut. So you may not have the luxury of asking the director, what tempo did you use? Just feel it. Then, there are directors who put what we call temp music. Directors who are here, please stop temp music. You're killing the industry. By putting temp music, you're forcing the composer not to be creative. You're telling the composer that use what I have. Just tell if your composer is experienced, tell your composer what you want to experience. Don't put temp music. Temp music has been killing the industry. People are no longer creative. They're just copying what's on the template that you have put, and then you regurgitate. So if you have temp music, you just do what the director has done. But if your director is like this one who gave me liberty, they said, here is the video, they didn't give me temp, they said just compose. And so me, I just started to look at the thing and started to do it. So that it ends on time, it starts on time, me feeling the rhythm and also working together with the director. So that's what I could advise. Just begin to get that clock, that internal clock to do. Two more questions and we'll be done. But now the hands are coming up. Yes.
Hello, I'm Becky. I'm a photographer. But I wanted to ask, while recording with a boom, which equipment is best? Sound card or a Zoom?
Oh, when you're recording on set, during production,
Yes.
what microphone is best?
Yeah. A sound card or a Zoom? To go with a boom.
So when you're recording on set, it depends on the function. What do you want to achieve? If you want to achieve proper dialogue, for example, if I was to record this gentleman here at the front, there are many people here in this room. There's a lot of noise. So how would I get intelligible dialogue from him? I would have to use a microphone that only hones in. And so you have to study the kind of microphone that you have. This microphone is called, don't get me started. I'm now going to start getting into class. Yeah? But what you need to know is the function. that's why I was telling you have to go into pre-production. In pre-production, you know, I'm going to record in a very noisy environment. I need to have a microphone with what we call a supercardioid polar pattern. In other words, it can ignore a noise elsewhere and just listens to this gentleman here at the front. So it depends on the function of what you want to record. So study the microphone, look at the polar patterns, study, the devices really don't matter. These days, devices are getting better and better and better. You can even use your phone. But as long as the microphone that's connected to the phone has a very good polar pattern, then you would be, so study the polar patterns, especially in environments. If you're in a noisy environment, then study the polar pattern that excludes the noise and just listens to the dialogue. If you're in a very quiet space, then you can use a polar pattern that is wide so that you can hear everything around you. So look into polar patterns. Next question. Yes. After him, let me take two more because they are here showing me time is up. Time is up. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Me, I have these two questions.
Yes.
My first question is, when you are on set recording sound, then you have a mistake, then you say, as a director, you say, we'll save that in post. Then can you save sound in post? And my other question is, we've seen you playing different parts of sound, the Foley, the background music, the dialogue, differently.
Yeah.
So while recording on set, how do you record them? Because while you're going on set, you only have one microphone, and the microphone is speaking both the Foley, the background, and the ambient. So I don't know how you get to separate that one.
So you people, directors and producers, you hear? You hear? You hear what you are just doing to our people? Telling them we shall save things in post. That is wrong, Africa. Please, stop that kind of talk, please. We'll save things in post. Do you have the money to save things in post? Let me tell you, my friend, I didn't hear your name. That is wrong. And as a seasoned production sound mixer, you have to stand your ground and challenge these directors and producers who are seated here and tell them, no, you have hired me to do a competent job. You're not going to save this in post. You either allow me to do my job or get someone else. Because saving in post, what they're actually saying is that they are burning their budget for the day. They don't have time for you. But if the DOP, if the cameraman said, I want another shot, they will give it to him, right? They will give it to him. Then for you, sound. Why aren't they giving sound time? And yet they want fixed in post. And then when they come in post, they don't have the money, that we are broke. We have burnt out the budget. So tell them, for you not to have to spend money in post, let me record sound well. Second point. These things, Foley, sound effects, music, are done in post-production. On set, the fundamental thing is sound design, is what we call a PSM, production sound mixer's job, is to only record dialogue. That's his fundamental function. And if he uses microphones, like this lady asked, which kind of microphones? You're supposed to use microphones that fundamentally record sound and dialogue. Dialogue only. Not Foley. If you're recording Foley on set, you're wrong, PSM. Sometimes the Foley creeps in, but the dialogue editor takes that Foley out and we put it on another track. So Foley, sound design, music is done later in post-production. We act those things. We start to walk like the people or how they walked. We reenact those things and we compose. We do all these different things after set is done. So the fundamental role is to record dialogue. So the rest are done later on in post. Tuko pamoja? Yes, sister?
Thank you very much. You have convinced me really about how much I should budget for sound.
Thank you.
Now, my question is, in this 1 minute production that you did, how much of that was assisted by AI? Because there was so much talk about it here. 2, I will talk to you later about how to remove Foley sounds that creep in a dialogue that they ought not to be there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I use AI, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I use a lot of AI. Now, these days, people like hiding her. I don't use AI. No, AI is very important. Why? It saves time. I told you, I didn't have the studio here, but they gave me that project. So what I had to do is look through my libraries. I used AI to come up together with a pattern, a rhythm pattern, read the pattern quickly, tell me the pattern that I'm seeing. It reads the pattern. It tells me. I get my files, start arranging my files. Then I say, I forgot I didn't have a certain sound. So I go, look at it, I get the kind of sound, call it from a library, ingest it in. Put, and I'm done, and I'm finished. I send to the client, and the client is like, this is marvelous. So AI, I use it a lot in the workflow because it's saving about 80%. For example, to do this same job, I'll have to go back home, sit on my piano, and take about many days combing through. But I was here in Kenya, and I did that. So it really does a lot. It saves up on time. So we need to start embracing it, but not using it. We use it creatively, though. If we use it to say, just do for me what you feel like AI. You just do. No. You have to tell it what you want to do, and it will help you do it faster. I hope I've answered that question. And then in terms of removing Foley, it's just about the mic pattern. What kind of microphones you're using on set. One last question. Yes? His mic, I think people online, want to hear you.
My name is Kevin
Yes, Kevin.
Mwiga. I'm a filmmaker. I'd like to ask about the software that you use.
Okay.
And is it appropriate for somebody to use Pro Tools or Adobe Audition for that kind of sound design, to have 5.1 or surround sound to immerse the audience in different audio platforms?
Very good question.
Thank you.
God bless you. That's a very good question. What kind of DAW or digital audio workstation is supposed to be used for this? Now, guys, there are no rules, but there are unsaid rules. Please understand me here. There are no rules, but there are unsaid rules. For example, the industry standard for mixing is Pro Tools. People around the world, for example, if I work on this project here and I send it to Switzerland, or I send it to France, or I send it to South Africa, or I even send it to Lagos, the people there will receive the files and ingest them in their Pro Tools session because it's what's internationally recognized. However, they made what we call an AAF file system, and I think even the video guys have that sort of file system. I think they call it MXF or XML, where you're able to get metadata and transfer that metadata from one platform into another platform. So if you're more familiar with Adobe Audition and you know how to mix in Adobe Audition and use it in surround, you then get an AAF from Pro Tools or from Adobe Premiere Pro. Meanwhile, Adobe Premiere Pro is on fire. That's a topic for another day. So you get from Adobe Premiere or Premiere Pro or DaVinci, and then you import it and ingest it into your Adobe suite that you can use. But internationally, Pro Tools is what's recognized. So you would have to spend a little bit more because they're market leaders. They're putting tools that can enable you work better and work faster. I hope I've answered that question. Pro Tools, really. And then when you're composing music, many people use Logic, others use Cubase. It depends on what is easier for you to do your work well. Yeah. I think I am done for that day. This time up thing is too big in my face. It's been a pleasure having this discussion with all of you, and I hope that you have picked 2, 3, 4 cents out of what we have spoken, and that this is going to transform how you make your films and how you now pay attention to sound design. Have a great rest of the day.